folks, I'm the Lost Mapper, and this is day 6 of the 30-day map challenge. And today's theme is Asia. Today I'm going to rely on some of the mapping resources listed on the 30-day map challenge website. So let's head over there, and I'm going to go into Natural Earth Data and click the big Get the Data button. So I'm going to get some cultural data from here. And the ones I want are the countries. I'm going to download countries. And I'm going to download populated places. My goal is to make a map of the top 10 most populated places in Asia. So if I head over to my folders, I'm going to copy those downloads into my project folder and then head into QGIS and open up my project home. And I'm going to start by adding that country's shapefile. And since we're looking at Asia, why don't we go to Project Properties to change the coordinate reference system under General, or nope, under CRS. And I'm going to filter by Asia, and I'm also going to check Hide Deprecated Coordinate Reference Systems. And I'm going to use this Sphere Equal Earth Asia Pacific one. Cool. And then what I'd like to do is pull out the countries that are just Asia. So I'm going to actually style this one kind of gray. So let's just I'm going to pick black and then make it a light gray color. I don't know, 66. Okay. And then I'm going to actually duplicate this layer. So let's rename the original one to, or this is the original one. Doesn't really matter, I suppose. I'm going to rename this to all countries. And then I'm going to rename this one to Asia countries. And I'm going to right click on it and choose filter. And I'm going to go down to, there's a column called region UN. And if I look at the value of those, I see Asia is in there. So let's go to region UN equals Asia. Test out that filter. 47 sounds good. Click OK. And then I'm going to change the color of this one on top. I'm just going to use this light orange color. And click OK on that and make sure it's enabled. And I'm going to zoom to that layer. That looks pretty nice. Okay. And then I'm going to add all the places. And I don't want all the places that are outside of Asia. So I'm actually going to take this layer and I'm going to use Vector Geoprocessing Tools clip, and I'm going to clip the populated places by Asia countries. So only the populated places within Asia countries are going to end up in this temporary layer. Click run on that. And then I can turn off, actually I'm going to remove the original places. And I'm going to rename this one to Asia places. And let's click on that little chip to make it permanent. I'm going to save this as a file name. Let's get to the right project folder. Name this as Asia. And the layer name will be populated places. Cool. And then let's actually look at this data for a minute. So there's a bunch of columns in here. I don't know what a lot of them mean. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the Natural Earth website explains what a lot of them mean, and I don't know where to go to find that out. So I'm just going to pick, there is a column in here, population 2020. And I want to get just the top 10 here. So 1 through 10. And that seems to be places where Pop 2020 is over 9,000. So I'm going to right click on this and choose filter and go through my list of columns, go to pop 2020, and we're going to say greater than 9,000. Again, I don't know what that number means because I don't think the population of any of these places is only 9,000. I don't know if that's per square mile or kilometer. If anybody knows, that would be a great thing to know. Let me know in the comments. Okay, and then let's also add a label for these. And that'll just be the name of the place. And I'm actually going to change it to around a point. And let's maybe make it about 4 millimeters from around the point. And in order to make those, why am I moving away from this layer? Zoom back to this. Make it a little more readable. Let's add a buffer and apply that. And let's change the font to be semi-bold. All right, and maybe it's a little bit too far away. Is 3 better? That looks good to me. Okay. And I thought it would be neat. Well, let's set the background color of the project to be a blue to sort of represent the ocean. Don't necessarily need to have an ocean layer. I think just faking it for now is fine. So in project properties general, I'm setting the background color to blue. And that looks nice. And in order to make this stand out a little bit more, all the Asia countries, I'd like to actually put a shadow under them to make them pop. So if I try to do that in the Asia countries layer, it's going to end up looking a little bit funny. Let's take a look at that. Under the fill, down at the bottom, you click draw effects and then click that little star button and we'll add a drop shadow. And if I apply that, you'll see it's added a drop shadow to each of the features, each of these shapes in here, and it looks a bit weird. That is not what I want. So let's undo that. Go back to the simple fill, uncheck draw effects. I want it to be underneath all of these things together. So I'm going to actually join all those shapes together. So we're going to use this layer and choose Vector, Geoprocessing Tools, Dissolve. And that's going to just basically dissolve them all as one. I'll use a temporary layer for now. And now I've got that shape all together. Let's rename this to Dissolved Countries. Rename Dissolved Asia Countries. And then I'm going to move that underneath the existing Asia countries so I can still see those. And then we'll add a shadow to this one. Cool. And maybe I'll lighten that up a little bit. It's a little bit intense. Down here, into drop shadow. And I'm just going to make the transparency 50%. And it'll be a little bit lighter. Okay, I like how that looks. And then let's click on the chip to save this one as well. I'm just going to call this Dissolved Countries. And the layer name is fine as it is. Cool. Something I forgot to download was the graticules. So if I go back to Natural Earth and back up to the physical data available, there's one at the bottom called graticules, and I'm just going to use 15 degrees because, I don't know, it's an equal number. And we'll copy that into our project. And that shows up here. We will add it. I'm going to put them on top of all the other layers. Well, maybe not the cities. I'll put them underneath that. And the styling, I'm going to make a black line, but I'm going to change the opacity to be 50%. So it's see-through, maybe 25%. Okay, I like how that looks. And I think it's time to make a layout. So new print layout, call this landscape. And let's look at our item properties for the page. Let's make this a 19, let's make this a computer image, whatever that might mean. So I'm going to set it to 1920 by 1080. I'm going to draw a map out. Where's that tool? And let's make it take up the whole page, as it were. So rendering that map. The fonts look a little bit big. So let's go back here and open up places. And let's change the label text. Maybe 8 would be good. And if we refresh this, it's still a bit big. And I also like to actually move this map around a little bit. And maybe zoom out a little bit so we can get some information on the page as well. I wonder if because I made an image, the scale is slightly different. I'm actually going to, let's change the page properties again. Oh, hang on. Not moving the map. Let's just get it out of the way so I can get to the page properties. I'm going to go back to letter. Let's just call that a failed experiment. And make this take up the whole page again. And when I'm dragging these out, it is snapping to the edges, which is convenient. Okay, that looks better than it did as an image. It's a problem for future me. All right, adjust these. That looks pretty good. Let us make a title for this. So I'm gonna draw out a label. I'm gonna call this 10 most populated places in Asia. And let's change the font to my favorite. And let's bump that up to 24. Sure. Widen this out a bit. And let's also give this a background of white. Let's center it and put it in the middle. And then change the transparency of that white so it's slightly see-through. Which is, where was I doing that? Background, opacity. It's right there. Let's make that 50. I think that looks nice. Maybe not have the box touching the top of the countries. And then let's add a attribution down here at the bottom. And this is data is from Natural Earth. Actually, let's give it the URL, naturalearthdata.com. Let's also make that Futura. And let's center that and put it in the middle. And maybe let's do the same thing with the background. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. One last thing I want to do is I don't want those markers for this places to be red. I actually want them to be a little bit bigger and clearer. So I'm just going to change it to this dot white. Maybe a little bit smaller. Let's try 3. Okay. Refresh it in the layout, and I think I like how that looks. Okay, there you go. Try to make that a fast one. Let me know what you've made. Leave comments. Tell me how I'm doing, and I'll see you next time.